If you think you've already seen chaos at its peak, wait until you learn about Bangladesh. This small country in South Asia doesn't just challenge notions of organization and cleanliness, it redefines them, showing what it means to survive in extreme conditions. Today, we're diving into 12 surprising facts about one of the most densely populated and culturally vibrant places on the planet. Before we get started, consider this. Bangladesh is often called the land of rivers. With over 700 waterways crisscrossing its territory, they shape both the landscape and the lives of its people. These rivers aren't just scenic backdrops. They are lifelines for transportation, irrigation for farming, and even the livelihoods of entire communities that depend on fishing. Now picture this. The country's geography is so flat and low-lying that large parts are constantly vulnerable to flooding, turning the simple act of living into a daily challenge. This journey will take us through geographical curiosities, the resilience of its people, and the living conditions that, while tough, reflect an unparalleled determination. Ready to discover why Bangladesh is such a unique place? Let's dive in. Imagine a place where every square meter is fiercely contested by hundreds of people. That's the reality of Bangladesh, the 8th most populous country in the world and, surprisingly, the most densely populated. In an area of roughly 148,000 square kilometers, about the size of Iowa in the United States, more than 160 million people call it home. Now, to put that into perspective, while Iowa has around 3 million residents, Bangladesh sustains a population more than 50 times larger. That's over 1,100 people packed into every square kilometer. It's not just a mind-blowing statistic. It's a glimpse into how millions of people live, work, and coexist in one of the most crowded places on Earth. This level of population density shapes everything in Bangladesh, from the way cities are organized to the daily routines of its communities. And while it brings massive challenges, it also showcases the incredible human capacity for adaptation and resilience. Bangladesh is one of the biggest hubs for the textile industry in the world, supplying major brands like Zara, Gucci, Louis Vuitton, Burberry, and Prada. This status as a global fashion giant largely comes down to the low production costs that attract companies looking to maximize their profits. But behind this success lies a harsh reality. Textile factories in the country often operate under tough and at times unsafe conditions. Millions of workers endure grueling shifts that can last 12 to 14 hours a day, earning wages that range from just $50 to $100 a month, a sum barely enough to cover basic necessities. On top of the long hours, these workers are frequently exposed to harmful chemicals without any proper protective gear. The effects are devastating. Many see their health deteriorate rapidly, with life expectancy in some cases not exceeding 50 years. This stark reality forces us to ask an important question. What is the human cost of the clothes we wear? If you thought working in Bangladesh's textile industry was tough, wait until you hear about this. On the shores of Chittagong lies the largest ship graveyard in the world. Here, massive cargo ships and oil tankers meet their end, dismantled piece by piece in a process that combines ingenuity with extreme danger. What makes this activity so striking is how it's carried out. Almost all of the dismantling is done by hand, with workers facing hazardous conditions and no protective gear. They handle heavy metals, chemical waste, and in some cases, radioactive materials. Most of these workers come from rural areas, drawn by the promise of a job. What they find, however, are grueling hours, meager pay, and a complete lack of labor rights. The risks aren't just physical. Constant exposure to toxic substances leads to respiratory diseases and other health problems that plague workers for life. On top of that, the environmental impact of this process is catastrophic. Shipbreaking releases waste that pollutes the sea, directly affecting coastal communities by destroying ecosystems and cutting off vital local livelihoods. Street food is a vibrant part of Bangladesh's culture, with stalls scattered across cities offering an incredible variety of traditional flavors. But along with the enticing aromas and authentic dishes comes a serious concern: sanitation. In the bustling street markets, it's common to see food being prepared and sold in makeshift stalls, often without basic hygiene practices. Popular dishes include pitas, rice cakes, fuchka, crispy stuffed dough balls, and chotpoti, a spicy mix of chickpeas and spices. While these foods are delicious and affordable, they come with risks that can't be ignored. The main source of these risks lies in the water used to prepare the food and wash the utensils. In many cases, the water isn't treated, and some vendors clean their tools using water from questionable sources, such as roadside canals. This reality makes street food in Bangladesh both a cultural adventure and a challenge for visitors. While indulging in the country's rich culinary offerings, it's important to take precautions to ensure this flavorful journey becomes a cherished memory, without turning into a health issue. Public transportation in Bangladesh mirrors the reality of a densely populated country with limited resources. Old buses, many of which have been in service for decades, are still widely used, but poor maintenance and overcrowding make the rides both uncomfortable and often unsafe. In addition to buses, one of the most iconic modes of transport is the rickshaw, bicycles adapted with a passenger cabin. These vehicles are especially popular in Dhaka, the capital, and are pedaled by men who endure long hours under the scorching sun, covering significant distances. Despite the physical effort involved, the pay is minimal, highlighting the economic struggles many workers face. Another striking symbol of the country's transport system is the overcrowded trains. During peak hours, the demand for mobility is so high that passengers not only fill the train cars, but also climb onto the roofs and hang off the sides. Dhaka, the capital of Bangladesh, is one of the most densely populated cities in the world. With over 20 million people packed into a limited area, the city is a portrait of extreme contrasts. Chaotic traffic dominates the streets, where rickshaws, cars, and pedestrians all compete for space amid constant honking and risky maneuvers. Traffic lights are a rare sight, and the flow is manually managed by traffic officers trying to impose some order in the chaos. The challenges go beyond the traffic. A lack of basic sanitation is evident, with open sewers and piles of trash in the poorer neighborhoods. Yet Dhaka thrives as the country's economic hub. It's the heart of the bustling textile industry, which employs millions, often under tough conditions and for low wages. Despite its challenges, Dhaka holds a rich cultural heritage. Its ancient mosques and traditional markets stand in stark contrast to the frenetic pace of a city that never stops. For those who venture into its streets, Dhaka offers a one-of-a-kind experience, a mix of hardships and fascination that embodies the spirit of Bangladesh. Bangladesh holds a unique spot on the map, but its location also makes it one of the most vulnerable countries to natural disasters. Cyclones, floods, and earthquakes are a part of daily life for its people, caused by a combination of geographic and topographic factors. With much of its land lying in low-lying areas prone to flooding, the country experiences frequent floods that affect millions of people each year. On top of that, its proximity to tectonic fault lines exposes it to earthquakes, which can amplify the destruction caused by other disasters. This convergence of risks puts immense pressure on emergency infrastructure and recovery resources. As a result, Bangladesh is constantly seeking ways to mitigate the impact of these events and develop strategies to help its people adapt and withstand such harsh conditions. Bangladesh faces a critical challenge when it comes to air quality. The country often tops global rankings for air pollution, with Dhaka, its capital, being one of the most affected cities. The sources of air pollution are numerous: vehicle emissions, unregulated industries, burning of waste and biomass, and the constant dust from countless construction projects. These activities release fine particles like PM2.5, and other pollutants that frequently exceed the limits recommended by the World Health Organization. The impact is both immediate and severe. Toxic air not only harms the environment, but also poses a serious public health risk, contributing to rising cases of respiratory issues, heart diseases, and other chronic conditions. This situation underscores the urgent need for measures to reduce pollution and improve the quality of life, especially in urban centers like Dhaka. A unique aspect of daily life in Bangladesh is the widespread use of water instead of toilet paper for cleaning after using the bathroom. This practice is considered both more hygienic and environmentally friendly. Another common habit is eating with the hands, specifically the right hand. For many, this goes beyond practicality. It's seen as a way to connect with the food and better appreciate its flavors. This practice is deeply rooted in cultural and religious traditions, which associate the right hand with cleanliness and suitability for actions like eating. Although Bangladesh's economy is driven by the textile industry and tea exports, this apparent prosperity hides a harsh reality for most of its population. While the country produces clothing for luxury brands and stands out in the global market, many workers live on wages that barely sustain their families. Most Bangladeshi families survive on less than $2 a day, an amount that hardly covers basic needs like quality food. These conditions force millions of people to live in inadequate housing, often shared with other families in areas lacking proper sanitation. For these communities, survival is a constant struggle, marked by limited resources and a lack of economic opportunities. Despite their significant contribution to the global economy, many Bangladeshis remain trapped in a cycle of poverty that challenges their resilience every day. Among the many ethnic groups in Bangladesh, the Mandi tribe, also known as the Garo, stands out for its unique cultural practices. One tradition that catches attention in some of their communities is husband sharing. In this custom, a woman may share her husband with a sister or another close female relative. The practice aims to ensure that all women, especially those without partners, have the opportunity to start a family and have children. This tradition is deeply tied to the tribe's matrilineal structure, where inheritance and community leadership are passed down through the female line. It also helps balance gender proportions in cases where there are fewer men in the population. Bangladesh is a country of contrasts and challenges. From overpopulation and pollution to inadequate infrastructure and natural disasters, survival here demands daily resilience. However, traditions like these reflect how culture can be shaped as a way for people to adapt to and navigate their realities. What about you? What stood out to you the most about this country? If you enjoyed this content, give it a like and subscribe to the channel. It helps us keep bringing you stories and curiosities from around the world. See you next time.